So hey everyone, now let's move ahead and talk about types in JavaScript. So I'm in a file of this main.js. This main.js consists of this information, right? So right now to check the type we need to specify a JavaScript keyword which is essentially known as type of, right? So right now if you look at this, it's essentially a type of, which is a predefined keyword in JavaScript, right? So if I pass a certain value over here, let's say I pass 1, it's when we see the output for this code in JavaScript compiler, when the JavaScript compiler compile this information, this code, it shows us number on the console, right? So as we all know that this 1 is a number, hence it shows us number on the console. Then we have this type of is essentially I already explained you, and if I pass in string to this, it shows a string. When I pass true, it shows as boolean, and if I pass type of undefined, it shows as undefined, as we all know. But the main problem over here is when we pass type of null and it shows as object. But wait, we know that the null is the type of null is essentially null, right? So why it's showing as object? The main information, when I google that up, it shows me that there's a problem with the this stuff in JavaScript wherein the type of is incorrectly classified, or maybe like compiled by the JavaScript code itself, right? So if you just google that up, it shows that there's a bug found in the code wherein if I check the type of undefined, or maybe like when I check the type of your null, it's showing as object, right? That isn't a primitive value, and it's essentially, this is a bug which is found in the code base which can't break. So now if the JavaScript team of the people who develop the JavaScript essentially go on and just try to fix this bug, they may end up causing some sort of other bugs or maybe other errors in the other pre-existing code base. Hence we just stick to the problems, don't try to overcomplicate that, right? So you can think of it like this type is always written in object, right? And it may change in the other version of JavaScript. It's maybe change in the upcoming version, but I'm not sure of that, right? So you can think of it, the type of is essentially an object, it shows an object. And then when I see the type of this curly braces, and it shows an object as we expected. But when we see the type of this arrays, it shows an object. Why so? We know that this arrays, or this arrays is essentially an array, right? But we know that the objects are a subset for this certain thing, right? So what do we mean by that? So I create a file of random.js right over here. Now this random.js consists of this certain data, right? So over here you will see we have this curly brace, we have the square brackets, and inside the square brackets we have this two objects. First object is of a type name, and second one is of another type JavaScript min-max and other information as well. So we can essentially provide a lot of other data to this certain I would say code base, right? So it's gonna extend the entire stuff, right? So if you look at this, the square brackets are acting as a holder for this entire information, right? They are acting as an object, right, which are essentially holding all the other objects. So that's why it's showing as a type of object. So that's the main use case. Now let's go ahead and see the console. So if you don't know about console in JavaScript, essentially console is essentially a web API wherein we can easily pass a lot of other information. Let's say we have this console, and we can also console.warn, we can do console.error, you can also do console.error, right, by writing this error message, right? So we can do all sort of stuff. Right now I just type of maybe like a console.log and just add let's say we can add a hello world, right? So if I go back to the editor and just refresh the page, you will see it shows as hello world right over here. Cool. So that's how you can easily write hello world. Now let's move ahead and talk about other types. So I already showed you the output right over here, but if you want to check that, you can easily pass the same thing in the console and you will see the output same as well. right? So if we refresh the page, you will see it's showing us the same thing: string, boolean, undefined, object, object, object. That's all about the type of. I will see you in the next one.